The automatic glass doors of Kingston Enterprises opened with a soft hiss as Madison Carter stepped inside. Her worn leather boots clacked softly on the polished marble floors, drawing a few raised eyebrows from sharply dressed receptionists and assistants bustling through the lobby. Clutching a weathered binder filled with research and charts, she walked with quiet confidence
24
toward
floors
the
up.
elevator. In a sun-drenched conference room lined with floor-to-ceiling windows, CEO Ryan Kingston checked his Rolex impatiently. He had just wrapped up an interview with an Ivy League grad wearing a tailored suit, and now he was expecting some farm girl from Iowa, as he had so eloquently put it to his assistant. The elevator doors slid open, and Madison stepped out. Her hair was neatly tied back, and though her clothes were modest, a simple blouse and slacks, she carried herself with unshakable poise. Ryan barely looked up as she entered. "Madison Carter?" he asked, flipping through a resume without interest. "Yes, sir," she replied. "Thank you for having me." He raised an eyebrow. "You're from a farm, right?" Madison nodded. "That's correct. My family runs a 300-acre farm outside Des Moines. I also hold a degree in agricultural business from Cornell University." One of the executives sitting beside Ryan let out a small, amused chuckle. Ryan didn't bother hiding his smirk. "Interesting background for a corporate position in our agri-tech division. Tell me, do you think your experience milking cows qualifies you to lead a team here?" The room chuckled again. Madison smiled, her tone calm and unshaken. "Well, sir, managing a working farm requires knowledge of finance, supply chain logistics, team leadership, and innovation under pressure. We don't have backup generators when things fail. We fix them, fast. If anything, I'd say we have to be more resourceful than your average business." Ryan leaned back in his leather chair. "Resourceful, huh?" She opened her binder and slid a few pages across the table. "These are sustainable crop rotation models I developed during my senior thesis. I also consulted with a startup that used drone tech to monitor soil health. The data shows we could reduce overhead by 40% in your Midwestern operations if you adjusted your current practices." The mood in the room shifted slightly. Ryan's smirk faded as he looked over the charts. One of the other execs leaned in, whispering something to him. "You developed this yourself?" Ryan asked, now with genuine curiosity. "Yes," Madison replied, "and I've piloted it successfully on our farm. We cut fertilizer costs, reduced runoff, and increased yield last season." Ryan tapped his fingers against the folder, then looked up again. "You're clearly smart, but this is the big leagues. We deal in multi-million-dollar decisions." Madison didn't blink. "So do I. A single bad season can cost my family everything. Weather, labor shortages, market shifts. There's no safety net. I've had to make hard calls and live with the consequences. That's real business, Mr. Kingston." There was a long pause. He looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. No longer just the farmer's daughter, Madison was now a candidate who had just challenged his assumptions and backed it up with evidence. He closed the folder. "We'll be in touch," he said flatly. As Madison stood to leave, she turned to him with a final remark. "Success doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears boots." And with that, she walked out of the boardroom, leaving a silent room full of executives and one stunned CEO behind her. A week had passed since the interview. Madison hadn't heard anything from Kingston Enterprises, and she wasn't surprised. She had walked into a boardroom full of suits and walked out wearing dust-covered boots. That usually didn't lead to callbacks. Still, she had spoken her truth, and she was proud of that. Then, on a Tuesday morning, her phone buzzed. "This is Madison." "Miss Carter," said a voice smooth and professional. "Mr. Kingston would like to see you again. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., same office." She agreed without hesitation. By 9:55 the next day, she was once again in the same glass tower, riding the elevator up to the top floor. But this time, the receptionist greeted her with a smile, and an assistant offered her coffee. Something felt different. When she entered the conference room, Ryan Kingston stood up to greet her. No smirk this time, just a firm handshake and a simple, "Thanks for coming back." She sat down, noticing a few different faces in the room. Senior partners, judging by their age and quiet presence. Ryan opened a folder and glanced at it. "I want to start by saying I misjudged you, Miss Carter," he said plainly. "Your models were reviewed by our research department. They were impressed. Very impressed." Madison gave a small nod. "I'm glad they were helpful." Ryan exchanged a look with one of the partners, then continued, "But there's something else, something we missed entirely." He motioned toward the HR director, who placed a thick file on the table. Ryan opened it slowly. "It came to our attention that your full legal name is Madison Carter Rothschild." The room went silent. Madison gave a knowing smile. "Yes, my grandfather on my mother's side was Charles Rothschild." Ryan blinked, stunned. "As in Rothschild Industries?" She nodded. "He made his fortune in manufacturing but started out farming in Nebraska. When I was born, he offered to cover my education if I kept the family values intact. I grew up on the Carter farm. I chose to earn everything from the ground up." Whispers moved through the room like a wave. One executive shifted in his seat, another cleared his throat. Ryan leaned forward, his voice quieter now. "You could have led with that. It would have opened doors." "But that's exactly why I didn't," Madison replied calmly. "I needed to know how you treat someone with no fancy name, no silver spoon, just hard work and ideas. That told me everything I needed to know about this company." Ryan looked slightly embarrassed. He exhaled, leaned back and shook his head. "You came in here wearing dusty boots and gave us a lesson in humility." "I wasn't trying to teach a lesson," Madison said. "I just wanted a fair shot." There was a pause. Then one of the senior partners spoke. "Well, you earned more than that. We want you to join not just as an employee, but as a junior partner in our agri-tech division. We believe your vision can change the way we do business, ethically, sustainably, and profitably." Madison's eyes flickered with surprise, but she stayed composed. "That's generous. I'll need to review the terms before I agree." Ryan chuckled. "Smart, very smart." They shook hands again, this time with mutual respect. As Madison left the building, the same receptionist smiled and said, "Mr. Kingston told me to tell you. He's never been that quiet in a meeting before." Madison smiled. "Sometimes silence says more than words." She stepped outside into the sunlight, boots still dusty, but head held higher than ever.